Now, I'd like to introduce Cassidy Murphy, and she's going to introduce our speaker. Thanks, Cassidy.
Thank you, President Sally. I am so pleased to be able to introduce Bill Morris, who many of you know because Boulder Rotary and Merrill Glustrom were part of the welcoming to Boulder of Blue Star Recyclers, and we are very happy to hear that they have expanded. I'm hoping that we will hear more about that during the program. Bill Morris started Blue Star Recyclers because, at least according to the news, and he will correct me if I'm wrong, he was looking for something meaningful to do. His older brother is autistic, and he was very concerned about the environment and how electronic waste was going to impact the environment because so much of it was being thrown away. And I just want to commend Bill because he is a very good example that we would take in Rotary of one person making a huge difference. Just looking at their website, I can tell you that 21 million pounds of electronics have been recycled since Blue Star Recyclers have been opened, 50 jobs, mostly people with autism, 12 million in new revenue for Colorado, and 15 million in social return on investment. So I hope that you, like me, will welcome Bill Morris to hear more about what's been going on with Blue Star Recyclers.
Thank you so much, Cassidy. Let's see if I can bring up the deck here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Can everyone see that okay? We're good? Okay. I just wanted to expand that. Oh, there we go. Okay. Are we okay, Cassidy? Give you the thumbs up. Okay, great. So thank you so much for providing the opportunity for me to come back and share a little bit about what's been happening. It's hard to believe it's been almost 5 years since we opened our program out at the Charm. We'll be celebrating that this October, so that's a date we'll have to do something special on. There's been so many other good things that have happened in relationship to the partnership between Blue Star and Rotary. I wanted to share about those collaborations as well because they're pretty exciting. For those of you that aren't familiar with this, I'll run through our history very quickly. As Cassidy mentioned, 13 years ago, I came in contact really kind of accidentally with 4 young men on the autism spectrum that were in a day program, and they were taking apart some things that had been donated in a program where, you know, essentially just looked more like adult babysitting. They weren't being paid, they weren't being trained. They were really just sort of doing busy work. But I noticed that they had innate skills and they seemed to have an affinity and an attraction for the task itself. And this young man, Christopher Garcia, really was my inspiration because he could take apart a desktop computer tower in about 2 minutes using a screwdriver. It still takes me about 15 minutes to do the same thing. So I asked him where he learned to do this, and he said he taught himself. And I went home that night, and none of these, by the way, none of these 4 young men had ever even had a job interview, let alone a job. And they were in their mid-20s, and the prospects for them to honestly to come out of that program and become part of the labor force were pretty dim. So I wrote a business plan to start an enterprise to get them employed. And for a year, we partnered with a recycler in Denver in a warehouse in Colorado Springs, and we put these 4 young men to work, and they just thrived. Everything about them changed physically, emotionally, mentally. You know, when you have a purpose and you get up in the morning and you have something to look forward to, come in and clock in, get their tools, their PPE, and go to work. They just transformed in front of me. And by the end of that first year, we added 2 more, we had 6. And by the fall of 2009, we were ready to do something and create an enterprise, but I had no resources to do that left. And I had the good fortune, incredible good fortune, to accidentally, another accidental discovery, run into a Rotarian named Tony Fanant and his family. Pictured there, he and his wife Mary at our first Christmas party. And it was one of those serendipitous meetings that it would take me an hour to tell you the whole story, but I'll shorten it just to say that they had resources to offer. They offered those resources, and we were able to create an enterprise called Blue Star Recyclers. And it was largely based on an old truck that was sitting in front of their business that had said Blue Star Electronics on it. So we just took the word electronics, put the word recyclers on, and we were off and running. And when you open, and by the way, I want to go back to this and make a mention of Tony and Mary, because I wouldn't be sitting here without them or without Christopher and those other three young men. So I am the recipient of again, of good fortune to have known these folks. But Tony and Mary invested a tremendous amount of their personal resources in this without knowing if they were going to get anything back. And their motivation was to help people who wanted to work have a place to go to work. That's all they wanted to do for this community. So I had never seen anyone do something like that, honestly, in my entire life. So they really bear credit for getting this idea off the ground. But when you start something, it always helps to know what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And we had the good fortune again to know there were two problems we wanted to see if we could have an impact on. The first was, even though 77% of people with disabilities can work and want to work, over 80% are sitting home and languishing at home, and they're not participating in our labor force. If they do work, about 80% of them have jobs that are subsidized by government funding for their wages and for their supervision. So those subsidies, unfortunately, if those go away, the jobs go away. So there are very few real meaningful jobs for people with disabilities in the United States. The other thing we wanted to do was to see if we could find a way to deal with a waste stream that had gotten away from us. Starting in about 2000, manufacturers began to design everything for the dump. When we got the newest thing, we tended to want to throw the oldest thing away, not knowing really why or what we could do with it. And pretty soon this got out of control, and there's, out of the 50 million tons of electronic waste we produce in the world, very little of it's being ethically recycled. Some of it's being scavenged for its valuable materials, but most is just being dumped somewhere that it shouldn't be. So these were the reasons we took this on, and we created a mission statement that basically, if I can get my deck to move here, a mission statement to really look at solving both problems. So recycle electronics as a way to create jobs for people with disabilities. That's Mr. Dominic Dunbar, employee number 6 in Colorado Springs. He joined us in the fall of 2009. It helps also, and we're really lucky in this regard, to have measurable impact. A lot of nonprofits have to do surveys with their clients and rely on sort of anecdotal data to know if they're having an impact. And we are so fortunate because we hit the triple bottom line of environmental, social, and economic impact very hard, all three of them. So if you can kind of imagine material coming in, the first thing that happens at Blue Star is we need material. Now, you may never hear another nonprofit say this, but I need your old e-waste more than I need your money, because I can't put anybody to work unless I have material. So that stuff sitting in our homes and businesses is really grist for the mill for us. We have to have recyclable electronics to get people to work. To date, we've updated the numbers that Cassidy shared. We're actually at 25 million pounds. When you recycle 1 pound of electronics, you create 1.4 pounds of greenhouse gas emission reductions. And so and where that comes from is, and by the way, this is the biggest reason to recycle this waste stream. Manufacturers of electronics need base materials. They need the metals, plastics, everything to make something new. If they do not get old materials that come through a Blue Star recyclers that are processed and ready to go, they have to dig more material out of the ground through virgin mining, materials mining. This greenhouse gas emission reduction comes from when we recycle electronics, we do not have to dig up as much. So all of this material sitting in homes and businesses is depriving the manufacturing sector of the base materials they need and creating the environmental problem. There's a secondary environmental problem, which is if this does go into landfills or get dumped in open space, there are heavy metals that can leach into the ground. But by far and away, the greatest environmental issue with this waste stream is we've got to get this material in its base material form back to the manufacturers. So when we recycle this material, we also are able to create earned income. We charge a recycling fee for most materials to cover our costs to do what we do. To date, we've earned $13 million in earned income, and we received $3 million in philanthropy. That is precisely the formula we want to stick with and bring ourselves to a point where we're mostly funded by earned income. Today, philanthropy for Blue Star allows us to buy new equipment and grow instead of just filling the gap like it used to. And this is really the core mission. By doing the first two things, we've been able to create 50 jobs for people, permanent jobs for people with disabilities. Now, here's where it really gets fun. There's something new called the social return on investment that's being measured. About 3 years ago, the Colorado Institute for Social Impact came to Blue Star and said, we have new formulas to measure the impact of when people with disabilities go to work. And we would like to know if we can do a study to measure that. And we said, certainly. And they went and interviewed families. They looked at medical records. They looked at financial records of families. They looked at our financials. And here's what SROI is. It's completely under the surface. Most people have no idea what happens, but it's taxpayer savings when a person with a disability goes to work. Their earned income reduces the benefit income that's taxpayer funded. When they're working, they're not served in programs which are taxpayer funded. When they're working, they are happier and healthier. They are taking less medications. They're going to the hospital far fewer times. This is their data, not mine. And they are seeking less therapies and less human service programs, which are all taxpayer funded. And then finally, so many families that have a son or daughter with a disability, one of the parents has to stay home during the day with them. When that son or daughter goes to work at Blue Star, that parent now gets to go to work. So families go from one income to 2 or 3 incomes, and you have tremendous impact from that. So here's what SROI means. $49,000 per year is what a Blue Star recycler's employee with a disability generates in taxpayer savings and economic impact. And so it's oftentimes, so many of them are part-time work, and it's more than what they actually earn, they produce. So when a person with a disability goes to work, it's a tremendous impact. To date, when you add all the years we've been doing this, we just crossed the $20 million line. So socially, this is just the social and economic return on investment. This doesn't even measure the environmental impact. So recycling doesn't cost, it pays. And everyone wins when every ounce of this material gets recycled. The most important slide I can share with you, and you've probably seen this slide before if you've heard me talk, is when I started Blue Star, I knew that the team had an affinity for the work. What I didn't know was after 12 years, what kind of workforce they would be. We've tracked these occupational statistics for 12 years now. We've had 0 absenteeism. There hasn't been a Blue Star Recyclers employee not show up without an excuse since we opened. And I've never seen that, and I've managed in a lot of industries before. We've had less than 10% annual turnover. This year we're running, last year we ran about 5%. This year we're running about 4%. In our industry, we run about 1,000% turnover. Most recyclers turn over each position they have roughly 10 times a year because it's work that the traditional worker is not that interested in. It's an incredibly safe workforce. This is counterintuitive for a lot of employers because they tend to think people with disabilities would get hurt on their work floor. But here's the truth. When you teach them a task and a procedure, they will never deviate from it. So accidents come from traditional workers taking risks and getting impatient, throwing things around, or cutting corners. This workforce does not do that. The average Blue Star employee has been with us a little over 5 years. In the recycling industry, the average recycling employee lasts about 2 weeks. And 6 years ago, we had a third-party researcher come on site and look at our Colorado Springs production team, 8 men and women who were taking apart computers. He sat with them for 3 months and he measured the minutes of the day that they were being paid to do the task and seeing if they were engaged in it. At the end of that 3 months, he came to me and said that the team was 98.43% task engaged on the clock. I said, that sounds pretty good. He goes, Bill, he said, the average American employee doing that job is 49% task engaged. So we have a workforce that's twice as productive doing what they do because, and this isn't rocket science. What we found is when you put a person with a task and they like the task and they're good at the task, they don't find reasons to miss work. They don't find reasons to goof off. They don't find reasons to get hurt. They want to continue to do the task. So I think in our industry, what we've had for so many years is we've just been hiring the wrong workforce, and this is the right workforce. A lot of people ask where our employees come from. They come from every possible referral source you can think of, from the employee himself or herself, if she can call us or email us, parents, grandparents, social service agencies, Division of Oak Rehab, you name it. And we've hired people from 18 years old to 58 years of age. But here's the best one. And I think the reason we focus on this is because of the lasting impact. What we found is that a special education student, when they finish their transitions program with school districts at the age of 21, if they are not working by that time, they will go back home. They will go right back into that bedroom they were raised in, and they will get on that video game, and they will not come out. At best, maybe they'll take in a few programs, but we lose them. And we lose all the assets and the talent they have. So what we've done at Blue Star is we've intentionally connected with the school district transitions programs to make sure that if they've got a student who shows any interest and then any aptitude for the kind of work we do, we get them trained and we get them hired. We've replicated this. We started this program with Cherry Creek Schools in 2014, and it's every one of those employees or those students come right from the school district to us. So we don't have to engage Division of Oak Rehab and use taxpayer funds. And by the way, these guys come to us where they are fully ready to go. They've been doing this on campus. They've been taking apart electronics that the school district has, and they've gotten comfortable. And the anxiety of work, when that goes away for this population, they really get rocking. And so when they come to Blue Star, the only thing they have to find is where the lunchroom is and where the restroom is. And it's really an amazing thing. So we've been able to use the school district as a program as a ramp up. Kian Fair, who is our first student here, is pictured. And today he is a senior recycling tech. He's been with us now 6 years, and he has 10 other counterparts there in our program that have come out of that program, and they really are our best employees, because here's why: they never went home and they never got down on themselves. They went right from high school to work, and they didn't go through that stage of sitting in their bedroom, and this is just crucial for this population. So I'm going to tell you a story about one person in particular, because I think this story is emblematic of really everyone we hire, but Tom is really a great example. This man graduated from high school and from college with very good grades. He did a great job. He had part-time work and volunteer work offered to him. But no one would invest in him as a full-time salaried employee, or even an hourly wage employee with benefits. And at the age of 31, he got down on himself. He went into, he sought a therapist's help, and lo and behold, they diagnosed him with autism at the age of 31. That therapist knows about Blue Star. She was an old board member of ours, and she referred him to us. And this is a remarkable part about his story. Tom has a pretty severe speech impediment, and as a person with autism, his social skills were it was very tough for him to communicate. And the only job we had available was the front counter sales position, where he'd have to wait on the public that walked in. And this is the most courageous thing I've ever seen a person do. He took that job because he wanted to go to work. And he went and took acting classes so he could memorize his lines. So when people would walk in, he would actually greet them as if he were an actor in a play and say, "Welcome to Blue Star. My name is Tom. Can I help you?" And he did it long enough until he got comfortable. And then we learned a few months later, and this is what happens at Blue Star: we start finding out these assets exist within these folks, and you can't see them at first. They possess a tremendous amount of talent. This guy could fix a computer, build a computer, and he never even put it on his resume. And we had a program that we wanted to do to fix old computers. And then we also didn't have anyone to do social media, because I was too old to understand social media. And he was a whiz at it. So we made him manager of those two programs. In 2019, after the work he did for the first 2 years, we promoted him he was the first person with autism on the senior leadership team. And he himself hired a team of 3 guys. They're in that photo there in the middle. Now, this team took on something for us that we have never really figured out how to do: component testing and resale. It just was something that wasn't our core competency. Tom and his team in 2020 produced $350,000 in new revenue for Blue Star. Now, this is income that we didn't have before. Now, think about this for a minute. This is a guy sitting home in his mother's basement playing video games 3 years before, and 3 years later, he's producing enough income to cover his cost and his team's cost and contribute to Blue Star. We've also been able to take Tom to present at 2 pretty prestigious forums. One is the Social Enterprise World Forum and the Stanford Neurodiversity Forum, where he was able to stand up and talk about what it's like to go to work and to be treated like an adult and to add value to the world. And one of the little cool side benefits of when he presented in Scotland was the girl that he met on Facebook lives in Edinburgh. So they were finally able to meet and connect for the first time. She came to see him in the audience, and she's a woman with a physical disability. And to watch that happen was worth everything, just that in itself. For a guy to stand up and be recognized and to experience what adults do, that was really his response was, "This is the first time I've ever felt like an adult." So I'm going to pivot here and just go real quick to our enterprise. This is how we generate our income and these services. We're eSteward certified, which is the most stringent environmental health, safety, and data security standard you can get. It's very hard to get, very hard to keep. It's third-party audited, and it just assures that when you bring material to Blue Star, the right thing will happen. We have 5 locations now, 4 in Denver, 1 in Illinois. 2 of those locations exist because of the help of Rotary, including Boulder. This is really the exciting part. The update I wanted to share with you is in 2018, we looked at what's the very best way for Blue Star to achieve its mission. Is it continuing to grow and build new recycling operations? And each one of those take a lot of time to build. Is if you're a nonprofit, you have to cobble money together. Or would it be better for us to teach our industry how to employ this workforce? In 2019, our certification body launched a program called Advanced Plus, where the top 20 recyclers in the country would receive training on how to employ people with disabilities. It's workforce development and inclusion. And we're 13 of the way through the 20. And the 13 have already hired 50 people with disabilities. It probably should have been twice that without COVID. But this is really exciting because the industry now is convinced that this workforce is a great business solution. It's no longer philanthropy. It's just a good business decision to hire this workforce because of their strengths. So, and then internationally, we replicated our mission in Chile. In 2019, there is a organization called Kiklos. They have, I think, 10 people with autism on their program down there right now, and it's really getting rolling quick. South America has a long way to go on the environmental front. And then we're in the middle of doing the same thing with AAA, all about autism in Penrith, Cumbria. And they're going to replicate the Blue Star model there. So we now have a model that can be easily exported, because again, all you need are those 2 elements: unwanted junk, which exists everywhere in the world, and unwanted people sitting at home who can work and who are not working, and they exist everywhere in the world. So this is a slide about what's happening with Rotary and Blue Star. To date now, we're at 21 clubs who have sponsored Blue Star or given grants to Blue Star. We've worked with 3 districts. The funds that we've received have gone into Colorado. They've gone into opening Boulder and our mountain recycling operations. They have gone toward trucks and forklifts and other equipment, shredding machines, hard drive shredders. And we do recycling events with Rotary clubs just about in everywhere we have operations. And there's some photos there. The upper photo shows Merrill and the EcoCycle crew. There's, I think, a woman from the city of Boulder. When we were doing the grand opening in Boulder, 8 clubs in the Roaring Fork Valley came together to fund our basalt operations, and that was our grand opening in July. We have a home pickup service in Chicagoland called Easy Electronics Recycling through a partnership with Rotary. That van in the lower right-hand corner goes around the Chicago suburbs and picks up right at people's homes. So last slide. I know, Cassidy, I'm running a little bit over, so I'll jump through this. This is what we've done in Boulder. And I'll just leave those numbers to speak for themselves. This Merrill's work and his committee got this started, got us introduced to EcoCycle. There was a number of other members who acted as a stakeholder team, and 8 jobs exist in Boulder that didn't exist 5 years ago. And for that, we're very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, you know, our big problem now is that we have so many questions we want to get to in limited time. So I'm just going to go right to them. All right. The first one goes to Sally Brown.
Thank you so much for this program. It's wonderful. I'm an occupational therapist, so there's so much data behind having purpose and what it does for people and their mental health. And we need to do more of this. Is wonderful. Thank you so much. My question is, okay, so I work at Boulder Center for Orthopedics. So how do I get my company hooked up with you so we can recycle our computers with you?
One of 2 ways. You can get a hold of me, and I'll get a hold of the folks at our Boulder plant. EcoCycle and Blue Star kind of do a partnership on some of the material. EcoCycle picks up, some we do. So if you just shoot me an email, I'll arrange for that.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, our next question goes to Jean. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Ask your question.
Hi, I just have a simple question. I know a lot of people take their electronics to Best Buy. Do you have some sort of a contract with Best Buy that you would take all their stuff? It seems to be you get a lot of electronics there.
Best Buy has a national contract with a competitor called ERI. They're E-Stewards certified, so it's a good recycler. The only problem is that every time that semi fills up in Boulder and leaves town, all the jobs and all the revenue leave Boulder.
Okay. Your question was answered, right, Jean? You good? I'm going to assume yes. Okay, we're going to go to the next question, which is Cassidy.
Hey, Bill, that was a great presentation. Thank you so much. And I think I saw your son, Sam, in one of those pictures. Is that right? He runs the Boulder Blue Star.
Sam is our CEO. I turned over the operation, the whole company to Sam in July, so I could do the expansion work.
That's amazing. Well, my question is a little bit more specific, and it has to do with all of the sort of exotic minerals, like I know neodymium and europium, and all those things are part of computers now, but there's also things like lead and that sort of thing. So my question is twofold. What do you do with the minerals? Are they a hazard? How do you store them? And how do you decide where those minerals go once they are going back into the industry to create new electronics?
Sure. We're actually referred to as a collector / first stage processor, Cassidy. So what we do is collect the material and sort it down to what's called the base material level, which is we're going to separate ferrous and non-ferrous metals, aluminum, copper, circuit boards, and plastics and wiring and all things like that. They go downstream from us to Dynamic Lifecycle Solutions in Wisconsin, and Dynamic makes that material ready for the manufacturer. So everything is recycled. 99% of what goes into electronics can be reused and repurposed. So they make that material ready for the manufacturer. The manufacturer makes something new out of it and then sells it to a new consumer. So whether it be base materials or the rare earth materials you're talking about, and the rare earth materials, by the way, this is so important why we get everything back to the processors, because if we don't get this rare earth material back, we're going to have to mine more, and the mining of those materials is not healthy at all.
Okay, thank you very much, John in Lenakaki.
Thank you so much. This is a great program, and I love hearing about it. I'm really interested in your compensation structure. What kind of starting wage do you have? And are there annual increases, merit increases, bonuses? And how about benefits?
Yeah, all of the above. So we bring everyone with Blue Star that starts at our recycling operation starts at minimum wage. That's our lowest pay, I think, which is now just went up to $15 an hour.
Oh, good. Okay.
There are automatic increases. The main challenge with this workforce, and you guys will find this, I'm not sure, hard to believe, but the government has made it so where if you make over a certain amount of money, you lose your benefits. So the parents are the ones that call us to say, can you please not pay him anymore or cut his hours? So we're working on that.
I get that. Thank you. And benefits, they do have like health insurance and retirement benefits?
Yes, once they're once they're hourly full-time or salaried full-time, they receive full benefits.
That's great. Thank you.
So I know I'm not supposed to have a favorite, but I think you're probably my favorite speaker, because you are so clear and concise and pithy in your answers that we are just able to get to so many of them. So I just want to say thank you, Bill. Sometimes people are not quite as concise. So this is great. Next one is Norma. Go ahead.
Oh, so what do I do if I have really heavy stuff that I can't lift into a car and I don't have a hatchback or a van and I don't know how to get it to you?
Yeah, just shoot me a note or call EcoCycle, one of the two. We will either Blue Star or EcoCycle will arrange to come by. There's a little extra cost for pickup service when we come to your door, but those old TVs especially are worth not having to pick up.
Okay, great. Bill Rubin, you had a comment.
Yeah, there's a nonprofit in Denver, actually it's all over the country, called PCs for People. And their purpose is to provide refurbished computer equipment for underserved populations, which has been a huge thing since the pandemic started. But I'm sure that they're processing a lot of stuff that they could partner with you guys on, or maybe even hire some folks like the guy that you mentioned who knows how to refurbish computers. So I just thought I'd mention that they're out there. They're in Denver for sure, and you know, you might be able to work with them.
Yeah, we actually brought them to Denver.
Cool.
In 2016. We parted company for a couple of reasons, but their mission is terrific. They fix old computers and get them out to low-income people. We actually are launching the same service because there's just such a need. But the only difference is that we just have a little bit more of a social impact by using all 80% of our employees have a diagnosed disability. PCs for People, that's not their mission.
Okay, thank you. And TC North, you had a program you'd like to share. Go ahead, TC.
Yeah, so you asked what the skinny is, eh, Mike? So Bill, I'm a business consultant. I have to tell you, and I have a background working with the disabled, and most of my companies are now environmental companies, which I love, and I'm trying to go to 100%. I love your business model. So I am part of a grant by MyTech. MyTech is an IT firm. They're offering, they're going to select 3 companies. The top company of their selection will receive $250,000 worth of IT services over 3 years. There's also an HR firm that's going to donate about $50,000 of human resources, consulting and work. And I'm doing the work that I do for a year with the Entrepreneur Operating System. So if that's something that's would be a good fit for you, just want to let you know about it, because I'm looking for people or companies that I actually would love to do my work in, and so I can advocate because I'm part of the selection committee.
Wonderful. How do I apply for that? Is it through MyTech?
Yeah, or you can just email me. It's my name, tc@tcnorth,
Okay.
north.com,
Right.
and I'll send you that.
I'll do that. Thank you, TC.
You bet.
And Bill, we're going to make sure that your information is inside the chat as well. I know it was listed there once, but we're going to go ahead and do that again. Plus, we're going to save the chat for you, Bill, because I know some people have given some good suggestions. What about this one? What about that, etc. In order to help you out. Just wanted to let you know that. Okay. So our last question is going to Gordon Gam. Go ahead, Gordon.
I was wondering if you'd heard of a book, Girl Decoded by Raina De Calliope. I wrote an article about her. She has a company that has developed technology that translates nonverbal cues into language for autistic children. These children can wear devices that inform them of other people's emotions so that they can interact with other children more frequently. She uses artificial intelligence. She's a brilliant woman who has this company that uses artificial intelligence to help them. And I just wondered if you'd heard of her work.
I have heard of it, but I'm not familiar with it, or not as much as I should be. As you were describing that, I was thinking I could use that same thing. So I'll look into it.
Okay, great. And Meryl, you might have some comments on today's program. Is that right? Go right ahead.
Thank you much, Mike and Bill. Good to see you again virtually.
Yes.
And hopefully sometime soon in person. But as you know, Bill, from all the talks you've given, we at Rotary get the last word. And first, please accept our thanks and appreciation for an excellent talk on Blue Star Recyclers, as I'm used to with you, and all that your organization is doing to make a better world. I can vouch to the club for everything Bill said about Blue Star and their employees. Absolutely true. I've been to the 3 main locations and just amazing. As you know, Boulder Rotary Club was instrumental in bringing Blue Star to Boulder, and we're very proud. I like to say it's a triple good, good for the environment, good for the special needs adults, and good for the community. And to reiterate what Bill said, Blue Star is not a charity. They have a superior business model. And Bill, we like to honor our speakers by donating 100 doses of polio vaccine to the Polio Plus campaign. But in light of recent events, I wonder if you would accept a slight modification. As you know, we in Boulder suffered a tragic shooting all too recently. 10 of our citizens were killed. One of those murdered was Terry Leiker, a special needs adult, and like those that Blue Star serves so well, an inspiring individual. Terry is a success story that would have made you proud. At age 3, she was diagnosed with a cognitive disability, but that never stopped her. Her positive spirit and determination to succeed led her to graduate from Longmont High School with special ed diploma. In 1989, at the age of 21, she began living independently and started her first and only job with King Soopers. And over 30 years, she rarely missed a day of work. She shared your belief, Bill, in the importance of positive employment, exactly like Blue Star offers, to build self-esteem, confidence, and bring a meaningful life. Terry helped folks bag their groceries and brought them to people's cars, always with a kind word and a smile. I was pleasantly surprised to find out just how many in our club remember her from shopping at King Soopers and how incredibly positive she was to them. She brightened the day of everyone she met. So we want to honor you, Bill, and also Terry, by donating 100 doses of polio vaccine to the Rotary Polio Plus campaign. May it help us all to heal.
Thank you, Meryl.
Thank you, Meryl. That was beautiful. Thank you, Bill, for being with us today and for sharing an update and the wonderful work you're doing to change the world. So thank you.
Yes, and I'll leave one last thing. If for those of you, if you haven't been over to see us at the Charm, we invite you to come by anytime. We've got a terrific team there, and we'd love to have you meet them.